It's episode 67 of the Rewind, brought to you by Global Sports Entertainment 3. If you didn't know, that was just something our guy Chris and what he does for 99 CEOs, cooking up a little new intro video that we have that we just debuted. It'll only get better as we go along, the journey and the episodes, but bear with us. But shout out to Chris for putting a little masterpiece together for us, because if you didn't know, the last few episodes prior, we just didn't have anything because we're tearing things down, rebuilding it from the ground up. So shout out to my guy Chris. But this is the Rewind live on our YouTube channel, and I just want to say a special thank you to all of our subscribers, people that show us so much love on all of our social media platforms, including YouTube, as the YouTube channel continues to grow and rise. It's not easy, but again, as Chris told me when we first met, it's the long game, and we're in it for the long game, and we're going to keep this train on rolling. So if you haven't, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at 31_GSC3, as well as follow us on all of our social media platforms at 31_GSC3. The gentleman you see on screen, I'm going to get to who he is and what's he about momentarily. But all grace to the good Lord. Thank you for the love and support. We were supposed to have two guests tonight, but one of my great friends and mentor, I'd say, Dr. Sandra, couldn't be on with us tonight due to scheduling. So we will get her back on down the road. But that's okay, because as you do know, you got to be ready. So you have to get ready. And Joe was prepared and ready regardless of the situation. Normally we're on Wednesdays at 9 o'clock Eastern time, but we had to push it back just an hour. So again, appreciate all the love and support that you guys show us. And it's going to be a great episode tonight, because just going to be a great episode, because that's what we do each and every week. And if you didn't know, I do believe Chris has the pictures in the deck. I hope he does. If not, I'll just have to give a backstory, just dry and plain. But how me and Joe and I connected for the first time this was pictured last year. We didn't take any pictures this year because Joe came in literally for 3 games and left. But this was pictured last year at someone who we're both have a ton of love for, obviously respect for, and look up to, Ice Young. If you guys don't know, I talk about her a lot on the Rewind, especially supporting her brand, Your World Entertainment, or Your World Media. This was last year. This was during the girls' weekend. 2 weekends where there's a set of broadcasters and personnel, crew, or sideline reporters, et cetera, that go for the boys' weekend. And then the following weekend is the girls' weekend. So this was pictured last year in Albany, New York, during the Gym Rat Live Challenge, where all the top teams in the country, AAU, come, 15, 16, and 17U, come for a weekend, come compete with the opportunity and a chance to win the Gym Rat Live Challenge, which Championship Sunday is on Sunday. Joe did have the championship call last year, and he and I connected right away. And we, as broadcasters, Joe's a little bit younger, probably a year or two younger, whatever. But we support each other and have supported each other. So it's been an amazing ride to get to know him, to get to support him from a distance, as well as support him everything he does, not also in the broadcast world, but also in life. And this year, during the boys tournament this year, Joe came in to pinch hit for 3 games, did what he was supposed to do, and then he left on his merry way. But I told Joe last year we were going to get him on, and due to, I guess, scheduling and also him being focused, finishing undergrad, which he just finished. So congratulations on graduating, getting his bachelor's from Siena University. This year, I made it my mission to have the doors open for him to come on schedule-wise, and it worked out. I wanted to make sure I got him on right after he was done with obviously finishing finals and having all that pressure taken off his shoulders. Not sure if he's going for his master's yet. I'm sure he'll tell you in a minute. But it's been truly a blessing to get to know Joe, and I know he's got some things cooking up, as well as he's coming back to New Jersey at some point during the summer, so we'll get the hook up then. But it's an honor and privilege to finally have one of the young rising broadcasters that you'll see on your television screens or listen in your radio stations in your car, at home, on your phone, wherever, because this brother here has a bright future, and he's going a long, very long way. He's going to be doing it for a long time, too, because he's passionate. He has the same joy, and he's cut from the same cloth in terms of being prepared as a broadcaster. But my brother Joe Lemery is here. Joe, I love you. It's good to see you. No time is better than God's time. Episode 67 of the Rewind. Good to see you, man. How are you?
Hey, Monty, my guy, I appreciate you. I'm so happy to be on the show. It's been a long time coming, like you said, and man, we're ready to get to work, and I'm excited. We got a lot to talk about, but no, just appreciate it, and ready to get the show rolling.
Well, if you guys don't know, I'm going to give him an introduction because I do that to all my guests. I roll the red carpet out for them because that's just the love and preparation that I do as a host of the Rewind. And if you don't know this brother here, as I said, he's a 2026 graduate of Siena University. This accomplished broadcaster has quickly established a reputation as one of the rising voices in sports media. A native of Clifton Park, they have served as both play-by-play broadcaster and sideline reporter, covering more than 100 Siena athletic broadcasts across 10 different sports and over 130 broadcasts throughout his career. Now, you do know that trends from high school into college. He's just that damn good. Making history as the first Siena student to perform both play-by-play and sideline reporting on ESPN broadcasts. They have gained valuable experience on some of the biggest stages in collegiate athletics. During the 2026 MAAC tournament, they worked tournament coverage and served as an on-air talent for 3 MAAC semifinal games. Further showcasing his versatility, professionalism, and his passion for storytelling. With an extensive live event experience and strong foundation in sports broadcasting, Joe continues to build a promising career in the sports media world. And if I already introduced you, but if you don't know, now you know, Joe is officially here from the broadcast booth to the Rewind. It's an honor and privilege to have you. But, Joe, we got a lot to talk about because, as you said, business is getting ready to pick up, and it's about to pick up because we have game 1 of the NBA Finals right here live on ESPN. Current score is 86-86. We'll get into the live coverage game and the stats in a moment. But right now, we're down to 2 teams. If you didn't know, it's the New York Knicks representing the East, the San Antonio Spurs coming out of the West. And just as history, it's always some form of fashion tends to repeat itself. These 2 teams matched up in the 1999 NBA Finals where the Knicks went down against the San Antonio Spurs, and Greg Popovich and Tim Duncan won just another, along with David Robinson, another NBA title. Now, we know for the Spurs, this is their first time back in the NBA Finals since 2014. If you don't know, that's when Greg Popovich, young Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan beat the Miami Heat to win another title. But for the Knicks, Joe, this is their first time here in a long time. So Knicks fans are happy to be back here since 99. They're on a big stage, the brightest stage. And we know that the Knicks are looking for redemption because in 99 they lost to the Spurs 4-1, and we know this year's Knicks team is not the same Knicks team as the year from 99, and it's going to be an interesting series. But when we talk about this series, and we know that the game is tied right now in the fourth quarter with 7:37 left, we know that the expectations and the stage is set for the Knicks. It's the first time to hear it in a long time. But for this series, Joe, when you look at the Knicks and what they've accomplished this year in the Eastern Conference, beating Atlanta Hawks in the first round with no problem, then sweeping the Philadelphia 76ers, and then sweeping, of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers in stunning fashion, having enough rest to prepare for Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs, because the Spurs just took OKC to 7. It was the best series by far in the NBA playoffs this year, and the Spurs are coming in a little bit more hungry because they've just beat the best team in the NBA. So right now, all the chips are stacked again in the corner to favor the Spurs. But what's your prediction here for the New York Knicks? Do you think they have enough for what it takes to take the Spurs possibly to 6, possibly to 7? And can the Knicks get over the hump and win an NBA championship?
Yeah, well, first off, a couple of things before. This series is by far one of the most exciting finals I think we've had on display in maybe the last 5-6 years. I mean, I got a lot of love for both of these teams. Kawhi Leonard, you mentioned him. He's one of my favorite players ever. I grew up idolizing this guy. I remember him coming into the league and looking at him, watching basketball, and being like, wow, this is a guy I want to follow. It was Kobe, and then I started following Kawhi Leonard, and I've loved him still do, but I always got a soft spot for the Spurs, and I feel like we'll touch upon it a little bit, but I think Dylan Harper is kind of becoming that guy that I really see has the ascension curve to him. And I'm a New York kid. The Knicks have always had a soft spot for them. They haven't necessarily been my team, but it'd be nice to see New York finally get something. They've been struggling. Everyone says, they got that curse. So we'll see what happens. But, Monty, in all seriousness, I think this is a series that's going 7 games. I really do. Obviously, a finals rematch from 99. I just look at this holistically. the best player on the floor is Victor Wembanyama, right? And I think that's kind of an undisputed fact and statement right there. Look, Wemby is too good. I think I wouldn't say he's Michael Jordan, but he's playing at a Jordan-esque level. And I think there's flashes of greatness that I see that you can't teach and you don't see very often. And it's in guys like Jordan, it's in guys like LeBron, and you're seeing it now in a young Victor Wembanyama, who's 22, by the way. And this kid is about 4 months older than me. And I'm sitting at home broadcasting, trying to figure out my next move, and this kid's making millions in the NBA, and he's four wins away from an NBA title. It's amazing. But look, that series against OKC was legacy defining already for this young man. He had over 27 points per game in that series. He looked like the real MVP over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in that Western Conference Finals. Over the entire playoffs, he's averaged 23 points per game. So the consistency has been there. And you talk about player impact for just overall, he's got the impact, the swagger, the confidence. He cried after they won that Game 7. You don't see that type of mentality anymore. A lot of guys are very nonchalant, and they're not showing those emotions. And I haven't seen that in a long time. And I love it personally. Maybe it's that French touch that he's got or whatever it may be. But seeing the emotion from this young man's face and seeing him feel so passionate about something, that means something. And it means something to the league. It's good for the game of basketball. And I think overall, just having two different teams in the finals, having fresh faces, fresh teams, fresh stars, it matters. And look, he is the absolute truth. And Victor Wembanyama has every intangible you want. The dude is literally 9'12" and shoots out the gym, and he does everything you need, and he's the best guy for the locker room. There's nothing else I would change about it. Maybe add a little bit more weight, but that could come with time. But you got to figure this is such a well-rounded player, and I have a tough time seeing the Knicks win this series just because I think even though they got the experience, the youth, and the skill set of Wembanyama and how everyone else complements around this young man, I just think this is going to be an example where, not saying the Spurs don't work hard, but the talent might outbeat the hard work of the Knicks in this series.
Joe, you said a few things, and I'm disappointed you didn't mention Kobe Bryant in that list of greats when you said MJ and LeBron. That's a story for another day. We're not.
He's one of my guys. I love Kobe Bryant is an idol of mine, and I only got to watch mostly the 24 days, but I tell you, I love that man, and he's fantastic. I can't put him up there with LeBron and Jordan, but I think he's. Did
you say you can't?
Not in the top two. My 1-2 is Jordan LeBron. I don't know if that'll ever change, though.
We might have to talk about that a little later, but
we'll talk. We're
gonna stay on course here. Listen, I'm not gonna disagree with what you're saying. I think it's been a historic run for both franchises. We know the Knicks are on a historic run because a lot of pressure coming to this year with Mike Brown taking over for Tom Thibodeau, who was fired last year. And he's done with Tom Thibodeau and no other New York coach since Jeff Van Gundy was at the Realms. And that's to take the Knicks to an NBA final. That's historic in itself. But, I think when we talk about this series, and I know we'll get into some stats from game one momentarily, it is, one of the things that the Knicks pretty much didn't have throughout this playoff run is adversity, right? What are you going to do when your back's against the wall? We've already seen from the San Antonio Spurs, especially in this last series in the Western Conference Finals against OKC, what they are about when their back's against the wall. They have the playoff experience already. We know they're a young team. We know a lot of folks of course, like a Dylan Harper, like Stephon Castle. This is their first time going through this type of journey. We know De'Aaron Fox has been there before. We know that Harrison Barnes, NBA champion, he's been there before. So they have a mixed group of players in terms of playoff experience. But I think San Antonio's answered the call better than any team has yet. And we've seen them down in a series against Oklahoma with their backs against the wall, 3-2, having a must-win game at home in Game 6. And what do? They got the job done. Victor Wembanyama has been impressive the whole series, even from his first game, having 43 points and 28 rebounds in game one. But it's been a star-studded display from this entire San Antonio Spurs roster. The job that Coach Mitch Johnson has done, taking over for Greg Popovich in Victor Wembanyama's year 3. It's been a journey that has cultivated to get to this moment right here. We know Victor Wembanyama was really injury his first 2 seasons, but he's played with a veteran presence in guard and Chris Paul teaching him how to be a leader, teaching him all the different things that we as fans don't get to see behind the scenes. And then the Spurs way, the Spurs culture, having guys like David Robinson, having guys like Tim Duncan in the building every day, training on the court after hours. Those things are what help you build and prepare. And we saw Victor Wembanyama this past offseason in the gym working with Hakeem Olajuwon, one of the all-time greats. And all the great players, they all reach back to help the next generation go. And it's been a blessing to see Victor Wembanyama's growth. But for me, Joe, when I look at this series, it comes down to how bad do you want it? We've seen the Spurs down 3-2 show us how bad do they want it. And then we saw them on Game 7 on the road where OKC has pretty much been as stellar as any other team in the NBA in terms of home court advantage and protecting home court throughout the playoffs and regular season, win at home. And they did it. They went into Oklahoma to take care of business and send OKC packing. But I just think the extra motivation of seeing SGA get his MVP trophy on Game 1 at home with Victor Wembanyama on the bench looking at him. That's all the elements to the story that Victor needs, as well as the Spurs. And look, they have done an amazing job. I do like the Spurs to win this series in 6. I know we're getting to predictions, but I'll tell you why. Not now, but later. But look, I'm not taking anything away from the Knicks, right? They have been a team that has been on a historic run. But I just think when coming into the finals, you have to have scratch and crawl to get there. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong sweeping the Philadelphia 76ers and Cleveland Cavaliers. They're just a better team. But the West, that series prepares you for the finals. I mean, if you're the Spurs, you don't go 7 games with the best team in the NBA, come into the NBA finals, and then next thing you know, they just lay an egg against the Knicks. Now, if the Knicks were to win, make no mistake about it, I'm not discrediting them. It would be great for the city of New York, of course. It would be great for Knicks fans because, again, I'm a true believer in everyone on this planet should at least see their team win a title at some form or fashion. I know as a Laker fan, I've seen it. I've been there and I've seen my team win. I've been there and I've seen my team lose. I'm going to take winning over losing any day. Now, there's only one set of fans that I hope they don't see their team win ever for the rest of eternity of life and time, as God is the greatest and the leader of the world, and it's the Dallas Cowboys fans. I just hope they never win a Super Bowl. I'm just saying. But it's been a journey that the Spurs deserve. I mean, they haven't been in the playoffs since 2017, for crying out loud. They all those losing seasons to prepare for this moment. We know that, back in '99, Joe, Greg Popovich had Tim Duncan, and now we see Coach Johnson have his Victor Wembanyama, or in other words, have his own Tim Duncan. And I just believe that the Spurs are more hungry because they've been battle tested, and the Knicks haven't. They haven't been backs against the wall down 3-2. I mean, we saw them come back from 22 down against Cleveland, but I mean, according to Coach Kenny Atkinson, analytically, they won 2 games this year. But for you, when we talk about this and we see guys like Dylan Harper, we see guys like De'Aaron Fox, Stephen Castle, and the mix of what this roster has been put together this offseason, and we see that the job that Mike Brown has done using his bench effectively, bringing in a 6th man a year and Jordan Clarkson to have that production come off the bench and that energy come off the bench. But what are some of the players you look forward to seeing in this series between the Spurs and Knicks?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to matchups, and I think this series matches up on paper extremely well. And the biggest matchup to look for right now is Wemby and Towns. I think Towns is going to be arguably the best big man that Wemby faces in these entire playoffs. Look, they're very different styled players, but Towns is going to get 15 to 22 points per game. We know what he's capable of. And then you got to look at guys like De'Aaron Fox. He needs to have a big series in order for San Antonio to make some noise. I think his averages have been a little bit low. He needs to step it up, but luckily they've had Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper who've been playing extremely well. But I think this series, X factor wise for San Antonio is going to come down to De'Aaron Fox playing at an all-star caliber level. And we know he can. We've seen that in the Kings 2023 playoff run where they took Golden State to 7. But the other stars got to shine in their role. I mean, Stephon Castle, he's an all-star in the making. He's got incredible upside and potential. So does Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper has got his daddy's blood in him through and through, and you can tell he's got that mentality. I mean, Castle's averaging now in the playoffs almost 20 points per game, and that's almost a 3-point increase from what he had in the regular season. So his confidence and his approach, he has looked way better and way more advanced than a year 2 player in the NBA. And man, again, Dylan Harper, he's got that clutch gene. I saw some of the shots he's taken in Game 7 of the conference finals, and he's just continuing to rise to the occasion, ring the bell, and not be afraid of the moment. And his averages are also up in the postseason. And you also look at guys like Vassell, who's a fantastic starter and knows his role very well. He's somebody who can go off, and they haven't even needed him to. And don't even get me started with Champagnie right now. Champagnie is shooting the crap out of the ball right now. I mean, he looks like Curry right now. I was watching the first half of Game 1. My gosh, he looks absolutely unstoppable right now. He's not missing any 3. It's an ocean right now for him. But then, look, you go to the Knicks side. I think where their biggest advantage is with the Villanova kids. Look, Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges, they've won a national championship with Jalen Brunson. They know what it takes to win. They have that winning mentality. All 3 of them are winners. Josh Hart, any team would kill to have a Josh Hart on their team. Mikal Bridges is, like I said, De'Aaron Fox for the Spurs. Mikal Bridges needs to be that X factor for the Knicks if they're going to win the series. And the other stars and role players just need to shine in their role. I think overall, it's going to be a heavyweight fight for the most part. And I think, again, we touched upon it. I think this experience that the Knicks have, being in the playoffs multiple seasons, having Brunson be their cornerstone player. Cat's got a lot of experience as well with the T-Wolves. I mean, they are poised and set up for success. And I think Mike Brown is doing an incredible job coaching this team, and he's took over a Tom Thibodeau team that was very pedal to the metal and kind of you beat yourself to the ground, and Josh Hart was kind of not used to that at first, and you know, players had to adapt to it because they were ready to put their bodies on the line and not be able to walk for the next 2 months after the season was done. So it's a different team, but I think it's what was best for them. So overall, again, these matchups are really key, but it's going to come down to not necessarily Brunson or Cat or Wemby and some of these big name stars. It's going to come down to these role players on the team and how well are they going to perform. Being at home is going to be crucial. We've already seen Champagnie's have an amazing Game 1, but how are these guys going to respond on their home floors? And more importantly, how are these guys going to respond on the road in these hostile environments? That's going to be the big test.
Big test indeed, because we know, Joe, that the Spurs have done a fantastic job protecting home court, not also during the playoffs, but in the regular season, winning over 32 games at home. But the Knicks, on the other hand, not too much. We know they've been undefeated in the playoffs on the road, but only 22-19 in the regular season. But the Knicks haven't lost a game since April, so they are on a high like no other. And you touched on a good point. I think for this series, we talk about players to watch, just key players. Stephen Castle, this is his moment to pretty much send himself into a different category, because we know what he did in the Western Conference Final, not also on both ends of the floor of guarding SGA and taking on that responsibility, which is what you want to see. You want to have your best defender guard the opposing team's best player, and I know for a fact that'll be the case here with him guarding Brunson throughout this. But as you touched on, it's got to be De'Aaron Fox to have a big series for the Spurs, because we know he had some ankle injuries last series, missing games 1 and 2, and we know that in Game 7, Game 6, I'm sorry, having 15 points, in Game 7, not the greatest of performances, but he's got to have a Sacramento King 2023 playoff series type of game, and then type of series, because this is where you need him most. I mean, this is why you bring in De'Aaron Fox, who's been a shifty left guard since he entered the league out of Kentucky, scoring at a high level and playing with efficiency. But then also you can't take away from what Kelvin Johnson. He's got to have a good series too. We can't have the inconsistency. We know he can bring it on both ends of the floor, but we know more importantly he brings more of a defensive presence. But let's not make a mistake on the job that Mike Brown has done for this New York Knicks team and how he is able to pretty much balance the minutes out, because we know last year, right at the first half break before the All-Star break, the Knicks led the league in starter minutes. And I said it last year here on the Rewind that this is going to be a problem if the Knicks want to make that run in the playoffs, because you can't afford to play Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Towns 40 minutes a night. Then come playoff time, you're not going to have that, because what Mike Brown has done that Tom Thibodeau hasn't is to trust his bench, but also go to it and give them the quality minutes. But that's why you bring in a Jordan Clarkson to kind of elevate and give Brunson that breather, or have him on the floor at the same time. Landry Shamet also, who's coming, has been effective for the Knicks this year. So they have some pieces there. Alvarado also, who's been a decent, has worked out in terms of the acquisition coming from the Pelicans. He has also and of course McBride, he's got to have another big series for the Knicks, because the Knicks are going to need everything and then some if they want to have a shot to beat the Spurs and win the NBA title. But we're going to go right now to the live score here. We have the Knicks up 94-93,
Wow.
94 left in the fourth quarter. Just some quick stats from both teams. We see Anunoby in 28 minutes to play, 13 points, 5-11 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3. Cat, as Joe just touched on, 18 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. 0 of 2 from 3, 7-15 from the field. Josh Hart, only 3 points in 23 minutes to play, but does have 11 rebounds. He can affect the game in other ways besides scoring. We know that. Mikal Bridges, 26 points, and Brunson, 25 points right now, 10 of 28 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3. We know the three ball hasn't been as effective or consistent, I'd say, for Brunson. But then the bench, Mitchell Robinson, only 13 minutes to play, 2 points. Shamlet, 13 points in 32 minutes. And then, of course, Alvarado, 7 points. McBride with 6. Spurs side, here we go. We got Champagne, 16 points. Victor Wembanyama, 24 points, 6 of 20. Not the best. Bad shooting night, 2 of 8 from 3. He does have 12 rebounds and 2 assists. Fox, 7. Fassel, 9. Castle, 17. 1 of 5. 7 of 16 from the field. 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Harrison Barnes, 0 off the bench. Keldon Johnson, 3 points. And then Dylan Harper, who had a hot start in the first half for the Spurs. He's right now is at 16 points. So right now it's coming down to the wire, Joe. Game 1, 2-16 in the fourth. Knicks are up 1. I'm not sure this is going down to the wire as what we expected for game 1 between these two teams, because as Joe said, this is going to be a heavyweight fight between two teams that let's just say the two best teams right now, because they're both in the finals. So the two best teams right here, right now. So let's get final predictions. We know the Knicks are up 1. Who do you like, Joe, in the 7-game series? Are you taking the Spurs or are you taking the Knicks? And tell us who you got in what? How many games?
Yeah, well, I can't believe that the Knicks are up. I mean, when I got on to get ready for this podcast tonight, Spurs are up 11. So I'm shocked that they blew it. I thought the Spurs were in the driver's seat. I did pick the Knicks to win this game tonight because I thought that the fatigue from that OKC series was going to get to San Antonio, and I thought the Knicks were going to beat the brakes out of them tonight. Not the case, but we'll see how this game 1 plays out. Look, I'm with you. I think Spurs are winning this series. I have them in 7, though. And I think overall, Knicks arguably, again, one of the deepest teams in basketball, and that's a complete turnaround from last year. Either Thibodeau didn't believe it or Mike Brown does now, and he's also got the guys around him to cycle in and help get these guys some rest. They need it. I will say, I think San Antonio has this it factor to them that I simply can't really describe. I think, and again, it circles around Victor Wembanyama, and he makes everybody better around him. And I think Chris Paul, when his time in San Antonio, you touched upon it, made Wembanyama so much better. It turned him from being a one-dimensional player, not that he was, but elevated him more into a complete 3D is not the word, but all-around complete player. And he's gotten so many other guys better on the team, and he's able to facilitate. He's not just a scorer. He's not just a defender. We know he's a defensive player of the year, but he makes everybody around him better. And I just don't think Brunson to be their best player for the Knicks. Brunson's equivalent is not like that. And I think that's the difference here in this series, is that when you got a guy like Wembanyama who can take over at any given moment, but gives every single other player on that roster the confidence that they can go off as well, that's something special. And again, we haven't seen that from a player in a long time, really since LeBron James, in my opinion. But no, I think this is going to be a great series. I do think it's going to go 6 or 7 games, and I do think San Antonio is going to be a little too much at the end.
All right, we're on the same page. Love it when a plan comes together. I know New York fans are going to scrutinize me because I'm on the East Coast. How can I root for a team in the West? But listen, I'd rather see the trophy come back home to a team in the West as a Laker fan. And look, I have no disrespect to the Knicks. I think the Knicks have had a tremendous season. I just think the lack of the lack of toughness in terms of a playoff series against a team like the Spurs is going to show, because any team that comes out of the West, especially a team like the Spurs who beat the best team in the league, and that's the OKC Thunder, taking them 7 games, that series prepares you for the moment. It prepares you for what's ahead. And I know the Knicks aren't OKC, but I just truly believe with the experience and what these guys have endured on this playoff run to get here, right now, and that's the NBA Finals, those things matter. Those things are important. And the Knicks have had a ton of time off. Let's not forget they were waiting for Cleveland and Detroit series after sweeping Philly. They waited a while to see who the winner of OKC and San Antonio would be. So the Knicks are well rested. So there should be no excuses besides Mitchell Robinson breaking his pinky, which hasn't pretty much looked like it's been a factor in Game 1. But it just comes down to me, the experience. It comes down to the journey and who they beat to get to the finals. And the Spurs have to climb a mountain and pretty much knock off the top of the champion to get here. And I believe they can get it done in 6, if not 7. So I'm with Joe. I'm going to go with the Spurs to win the NBA championship, the first one since 2014. And the Knicks fans, it's not a disappointing year. I know we'll talk about this series again on episode 68, but it's no disappointment. But I just truly believe the Spurs just have the it. They have the coaching. They have the bench. They have the talent. They have the depth. And they have the defense. And the Spurs right there, give them to me. Give them to me in 6. Fast forward, we talk about 2 trades that have just transpired in the NFL in the last 48 hours. And God knows I knew one was coming. I had an idea because of all the talks that were taking place early on in May, but I did not see this trade coming. And it's the acquisition for the Los Angeles Rams to trade for star defensive end Myles Garrett. Now, we know the Rams coming into this year re-signed a quarterback, Matthew Stafford, to a 1-year extension up to over $30 million guarantee. But this right there, this move here puts the Rams in the driver's seat, and that's them to be a favorite to win a Super Bowl. And let's not forget, having a guy like Myles Garrett who broke the sack record last season for the Cleveland Browns, it makes you scratch your head, Joe, and wonder, is this enough? Is this convincing enough to somehow, some way lure Donald into coming out of retirement? Because listen, Aaron Donald retired. He didn't play last year. He retired 2 years ago, stepped away from football. But what an opportunity it could be if you're Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams to get Aaron Donald out of retirement and put him on the same line as Myles Garrett, because teams, you only can double team 1. If you double team in 2, that pocket's going to collapse faster than lightning. And we both know that Myles Garrett can get to the quarterback at ease with a double team. But what was your initial reaction to the news of seeing the Rams trade for Myles Garrett?
Monty, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. Like, watch out if number 99 is out of retirement and back with the Rams. I mean, this is just such an A-plus trade in so many levels. And look, I'm a Steelers fan, so I don't love Myles Garrett. I remember what he did to my man Mason Rudolph, and I'll never forgive him for that. But that's a different topic for a different day. But look, you can't take away from the guy. Myles Garrett is sensational, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, sack champion last season. He is the perfect fit for this Los Angeles Rams team. This move makes the Rams the undisputed best team in the NFC, in my opinion. And like you said, they should be the front runners to win the Super Bowl. Look, it still puts a lot of pressure on them as well. Now they have to win it all. The eggs are all in the basket. Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, they need to get it done right now. And they had the shot last year. Seattle just came up on top a little bit more. But I think most of us know if it was the Rams versus the Patriots in that Super Bowl, the Rams are most likely coming out on top as well. Now, I think Chicago and Seattle, they're still going to be in the mix in the NFC. I like to think that those 2 teams are probably going to be up there in the top 3. I think Caleb Williams is got so much upside, and this dude is, I think, on his way to becoming one of the best quarterbacks we're going to see in the next century. But again, look, amazing move. I think it stinks that you had to lose Jared Verse. I really would have tried to figure out a way to not let that happen. If you could have kept Verse and Myles Garrett, my gosh, that would have been great. But you still got Young. That front four got so much better. The defense is young overall, so this is a group that they're going to get better from the presence of Myles Garrett there. And I think, again, young, they got a lot of pieces. And watch out for the Rams. We already know what their offense can do with Puka Nacua there. And Devontae Adams, that 1-2 punch is so scary. Stafford obviously still's got it. He won the MVP this past season, and they got the run game with Kyren Williams. So this team is so complete. They got every piece to the puzzle that they need. Now it's about not breaking the puzzle and carrying it over to victory lane.
It'll be an interesting season for the Rams, but we do know that adding a guy like Myles Garrett, who had 23 sacks last year, which was an NFL season record. We know that he was Defensive Player of the Year. He's an All-Pro and a Pro Bowler. Having a person like that on this defense, it just makes your team that much better, because when you got guys like Nacua, when you have guys like Matthew Stafford on the opposite side of the ball, who we know the Rams can put up points at ease, having someone that you can trust when it's third down and you need to stop and you need to get off the field to put your offense in position to go down the field and get a touchdown or a game-winning field goal, no better person to have and no better person to trust than Myles Garrett. I don't know how the Rams GM, in terms of cap, in terms of salary, and putting all that together, the numbers and metrics to acquire a guy like Myles Garrett, because we know he did get paid in Cleveland while he was there. But this right here, this puts the Rams in the driver's seat to put themselves in position to be the number one team in the NFC, but more importantly, be the team to beat, and that's to get to a Super Bowl, because Matthew Stafford, he wants one more. Sean McVay, he wants one more. And we know that the Rams have more days behind them in terms of getting to a Super Bowl and winning than days ahead of them, because they have a roster that's a little bit mixed in terms of age. So it'll be interesting, but this right here by far has been the blockbuster trade of free agency so far in this offseason for the NFL season. We know that he had over 60 tackles. 23 of those were solo tackles by himself. That was the second most amongst defensive end in the NFL. So this will be a interesting time if you're a Rams fan, but damn it, I'm glad my New England Patriots don't have to see this until hypothetically the Super Bowl. But any team in that division, any team in the NFC, God bless, because a healthy Myles Garrett is a dangerous Myles Garrett. And what we saw last year for him breaking a single season record in sacks, and that was on a team that pretty much the rest of his comrades in that defensive line wasn't as great. But what better way to start your next chapter of your career in sunny LA with the Rams, with a great head coach and Sean McVay, a great front office. And it would not surprise me one bit, Joe, if Aaron Donald decided, hey, I'm already in game shape. I'm still working out since he retired, still ready. We've seen Aaron Donald put out these Instagram videos with these captions, sort of surprising fans, trying to what can be. And if Aaron Donald can come out of retirement, if he chooses to, man, they might have the best 1-2 punch in the NFL that we haven't seen in a long time on the defensive side. So we shall see. But make no mistake, I think Aaron Donald does. You have to have the itch to come out of retirement and play with a guy like Myles Garrett. And I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. Another trade, Joe, that I think that, again, as a Patriot fan, I already knew this was coming down the pipe, because we know his tenure in Philadelphia was just turmoil, especially the last 2 seasons. We know that A.J. Brown's relationship with Jalen Hurts did not repair, and it definitely wasn't a good one. And that's the news of A.J. Brown heading to Foxborough to reunite with his former head coach in Tennessee, but now New England head coach Mike Vrabel. We know those two were tenured together in Tennessee when Mike Vrabel brought the Titans to the playoffs. A.J. Brown was the same wide receiver that went into New England and won. Why that was Tom Brady's last year in New England before he went to Tampa. So this is all sort of good things on paper. We know that he brings a lot of baggage, but as I said before, if A.J. Brown can adapt and learn the Patriot way, it will only make his career that much better, because, again, we see times in the past with the Patriots where they bring in players, for example, like a Randy Moss, who had previous stories and previous things that were happening in the locker room when he was in Minnesota, when he was in Oakland. But he came in those few seasons with Tom Brady, learned the Patriot way, wanted to be the best, and had the greatest season in the NFL when Tom Brady at the time broke the single-season touchdown passing record, and Randy Moss having over 24 receiving touchdowns in a single year. So there's a lot of good things, coming in to pair with a young quarterback in Drake Maye, who played exceptionally well, bringing his team to a Super Bowl. We know that Mike Vrabel, despite his off-the-field issues with what was going on with the former reporter, athletic reporter Diana Rossini, we know what can happen. But what do you think? How does this look for the Patriots? We know that A.J. Brown was considered a cancer in Philadelphia. We know that he didn't get along with most of his teammates in Philadelphia, having locker room issues and on-the-field issues with Jalen Hurts, complaining about getting the football, not getting it enough, seeing him in the playoffs this past year for Philadelphia drop passes that Jalen Hurts was putting on the money. Is this a good trade for New England? Is this good for A.J. Brown? And do you think these two can pair together, and that's to have success this upcoming football season?
Yeah, I think the Patriot Way goes well beyond just Bill Belichick and what he built there. I think that's kind of a standard, and I think Mike Vrabel is kind of the perfect guy that keeps that tradition going. And I think it's a great move for the organization personally. I think A.J. Brown's time at Philadelphia can't be dismissed. It was fantastic. He won a Super Bowl, for crying out loud. I mean, what more do you want? That's the pinnacle of the sport. And he had a 1,000-yard season every single year in Philly, and he was a great, reliable option for Jalen Hurts. Now, look, maybe this last season or two, has it looked as great? No, but this man is so capable, and we know what he does. This is an all-worldly wide receiver. He's exactly what we kind of thought DK Metcalf was going to be, and he hasn't ended up being that type of receiver, but A.J. Brown has. Brown has had an 1,000-yard season in 6 of his 7 years in the league. And again, that one year I believe it was like 898 or something like that. So it was really close. But they already have a strong running game with Henderson and Stevenson. So they got the pieces offensively, and now you just add weapons for Drake Maye. You really didn't have a ton for him to work with. I mean, Kayshon Boutte, probably their best wide receiver. I don't know. But now A.J. Brown becomes that number one option for Drake Maye, and boy, does he need it. You already went to the Super Bowl without a number one wide receiver. Now you got one. Now you kind of got a distinguished number 2 with Romeo Doubs coming in. So I think that's an even better and under-the-radar pickup. So, and you retained a decent amount of wide receivers. Boutte's back. But look for this team to be scarier now on offense than they ever were before. And I think Drake Maye is going to take another step in his growth this year. We saw the Patriots had a little bit of an easier schedule. So at times the question became, can Drake Maye be clutch against the good teams? Is he as good as we think he is because he's going up against easy teams? Yeah, of course you can throw 5 touchdowns against the worst defense in the league. But can you do it against a team like Seattle, a team like the Los Angeles Rams? That is yet to be seen. We have to see if that happens. But we saw it against teams like Denver. It was a little bit of a struggle in the postseason. Patriots didn't necessarily pour on the offense really against any team. It was just a matter of fact that they had such a good defense. So I think having this option of A.J. Brown just opens up the offense so much more. And again, I think this is just a win now move for the Pats. And I think that camaraderie that he already had with Mike Vrabel in Tennessee totally explains the reason for the move, and I think it's a big one for New England.
Big one for New England indeed, Joe. I do believe at times in players' careers, especially when you don't have the great relationships with an organization or with the quarterback, you sort of need a breath of fresh air. You sort of need something new. And I do believe that this move is something that will help A.J. Brown if he can adapt to Patriot Way, because I'm going to tell you right now, the stuff that was going on in Philadelphia, that ain't going to fly in New England, because you'll be out on the streets fast and lightning, ready for your next team to come pick you up. So I do believe that this can be something that can be good for both parties, for A.J. Brown, of course, for the New England Patriots, but no better target to have for Drake Maye in terms of the quality caliber of player. We know that what he can do, as you touched on, 1,000-yard season, 6 out of the 7 in the last 7 years, and that's a piece you need. That was what was missing from this New England Patriots offense. We know that Diggs did the best that he could coming back from tearing an ACL, but having someone like A.J. Brown as your wide receiver one with the run game, with, of course, establishing run and bringing back Hunter Henry at tight end, those little things that will help New England with offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels, who's a great offensive mastermind when it comes to drawing up the X and O's and having a scheme and a game plan. All the pieces that the Patriots need, I do believe we need to add another piece and improve the offensive line just a little bit, because we know Seattle last in the Super Bowl were able to get after Drake Maye with ease. But what would you give this grade for A.J. Brown to New England? A to F. What grade are you giving?
I give it a B plus, because I think, look, you got the question marks surrounding whether or not his character is the right fit, and obviously kind of was a little shaky leaving Tennessee, and it's been a little bit more shaky leaving Philadelphia. So there's two concerns there. Is what's his character like, and is he actually causing more damage to the locker room than good? But again, I think the Patriot way, you mentioned it with Randy Moss, I think it has changed so many players for the better, and you find yourself in that situation, things aren't tolerated in New England like that. It's a different animal up there, and it's not just necessarily something that was set by Bill Belichick. It was Belichick, it was Brady, but it's also the executives in that office. Robert Kraft has a standard. Mike Vrabel played for the Patriot way, so he knows what the standard is. Gerard Mayo, when he was coaching for his season, obviously it didn't go the way he wanted. He knew the Patriot way. So this is a system that's been bred on this idea of we're going to do it our way or the highway. So they know exactly what they're doing here. And I think this is an organization that's never afraid to take any sort of player, because they know they can elevate them into becoming a better football player on the field, but also a better person for the locker room, for the community, and just overall for their entire team and their program.
We know that A.J. Brown had his Patriot practice debut, and he's already came out to reporters and said that this is like heaven. It's close to heaven, I should say. So a breath of fresh air, clean slate, clean start, whatever's happened in the past, nothing to worry about from A.J. Brown. The focus is on from here on out as a New England Patriot, and it will take us some time, but if he can adjust and he can adapt, it'll turn out to be success for the New England Patriots, because we do know that the New England Patriots have one of the hardest schedules coming into this upcoming NFL football season. And we'll have more NFL talk as we go on this journey on the Rewind this summer, as well as preparing for the upcoming season, because the Seattle Seahawks are the defending champs. And the Knicks have stolen game one for the San Antonio Spurs. So the Knicks have a 1-0 series lead over the Spurs. What better way to start the NBA Finals with stealing game one on the Spurs home court? So we do know, regardless of the fact, San Antonio will have to win at least two in New York if they want to have a shot to win the NBA Finals. But we saw the Spurs have a pretty good roadkill in Game 7 in Oklahoma City. So we'll stay tuned for that, as Game 2 will be on Friday on ABC and ESPN. Now that we have the two trades out the way, and we know that Joe's a Steelers fan and my New England Patriots have acquired wide receiver one in A.J. Brown, we fast forward to episode 67. It is Rewind of the Week. I'm not happy, but I am happy because Joe's here. Let's go. On episode 67's edition of Rewind of the Week, it's a preview of what's to come, and that is the FIFA World Cup coming to United States, also coming to Philadelphia, as well as coming to New Jersey. We know there's going to be a zoo with the coverage of the World Cup kicking off next week, June 11th, where we see big stars like Messi, big stars like Ronaldo and Neymar. This will be their last World Cup for their respective countries, but no better way to end it than having the World Cup brought to New Jersey. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. If you're not going to the game, stay far away from MetLife Stadium as possible, because it is going to be pandemonium. It's going to be chaos. It's going to be traffic frenzy at MetLife Stadium, and we've already seen I've already seen friends. I mean, I'll just put it out there. A friend of mine, his dad has a house in West Orange, and he was offered for the World Cup. He was offered $50,000 for someone to stay there for the World Cup. Now, this is once in a lifetime experience. Hey, look, I will put rules and regulations in place in writing. Just have my house the way I left it. We've seen folks with these ticket prices right now, they are sky high. Also, not also at Financial Lincoln Field in Philadelphia, but also at MetLife Stadium. So I'm not paying $3,000, $4,000 to sit in nosebleeds. That just ain't me. I'd rather watch it at the bar or home or somebody's watch party. But it's going to be a very, 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 very interesting World Cup, because we do know that this is the last run for all these stars that I've named before. And it's going to be interesting. So you can catch coverage of the World Cup. We'll talk about that more next week. But you'll catch the World Cup coming to America June 11th, as it will be a World Cup for the ages, because it's going to be filled with highs, it's going to be filled with lows, it's going to be filled with tears, because you're not going to see these stars like Ronaldo, like Messi, like Neymar again on the highest stage, and that's the World Cup stage for the world to see. So brace yourselves, buckle up, because it's going to be an interesting one. I talked about USA men's national team last week. I don't know what they're going to do in this year's World Cup. I mean, they haven't done anything in quite some time. I do know the 2016 World Cup, they gave Belgium a run for their money after advancing from the group stage. Just wasn't good enough when we had Tim Howard at net. But it will be exciting to see this year. And, of course, the last segment of tonight's episode, it is Floss with Moss. Those damn Colorado Avalanche, they just couldn't get it done. Chris, take us home. All right, Joe, I'm going to be completely honest with you, as I've always done with the people. I sat on this platform and I picked the Colorado Avalanche to beat the Vegas Golden Knights to advance to a Stanley Cup final. What was I thinking? 2 games last series against the Vegas Golden Knights. Colorado had multiple 2 or plus more goals lead over Vegas, and Vegas somehow in both those games were able to come back to win and take over the series and sweep the Colorado Avalanche 4-0. And we saw last night's game, if you didn't know, that Vegas was down once again, back against the wall against the Carolina Hurricanes, who have been one of the best teams this year in the NHL hockey, as well as one of the best teams in the playoffs, lose at home. Vegas taking a 5-4 victory to pretty much put them up 1-0. We saw Tomas with the late top shelf goal in that third period against the Hurricanes to pretty much seal the deal to give Vegas 5-4 lead to take a 1-0 lead. Quick pick and quick reaction, Joe, to Vegas's another comeback win. We've seen this already 3 times in the NHL playoffs, especially last series against Colorado. Who do you like for this series, and what's impressed you so far with Vegas taking a 1-0 series lead?
Yeah, I mean, this is what they're made of. This is what they're known to be, and we've seen it time and time again, like you said. I mean, that Tomas goal was unbelievable, and again, I think Carolina played a really solid game for the most part, and you really kind of can't lose it, I don't think, the way they did. Vegas is just too hot right now, and they got the hot hand, and I personally think that Carolina needs to steal one game in Raleigh, because at this point I feel like I'm saying the word steal because this series feels like it's firmly in control momentum wise by Vegas. So if they don't take one on their home ice, this series is going to end up in another sweep, Monty. I think Vegas has every tool to sweep. I think Carolina is one of the best teams this season. We all know that. Hurricanes, they've been incredible, but top to bottom, I think arguably Vegas does everything that Carolina does, and in some fashions better. I think Vegas is utilizing the middle of the ice better than any team this entire season. They're one of the best at doing that. PK Subban said that the other day on ESPN, and I think that Vegas, they keep it up and they steal another game on the road. This series is done in 4. It's a sweep.
Woo! We saw Theodore. We saw Howden, who played phenomenally well in Game 1 to help the Vegas win. But as I said, man, when you have guys like Tomas, right place at the right time, top shelf to pretty much put them up 5-4 to steal Game 1 at home, that right there tells me that this is going to be a long series if Carolina does not play their best hockey. Because if there's one thing that Vegas has shown us, no matter what time in the period it is, no matter what the score is in the game, they have the quality and the metrics and the DNA and the formula to come back from any deficit to overcome to win. And we saw this in last series against Colorado. We saw this again on Tuesday night in Carolina where they were down. They were down 4-3, tied up at 4-4. Then take the go-ahead game-winning goal to tie it up to take the lead 5-4 to steal game one. And look, Vegas, despite what you say, they've earned the right to be here. They beat the best team, arguably, in NHL, in the Colorado Avalanche, who Colorado was by far the best team, if not the top two teams in NHL regular season and in the playoffs. So the fact that Tomas was able to steal that goal to get in there to take the 5-4 lead, put Vegas up 1-0. Carolina, it's a must-win game in game two. Must win. If Carolina doesn't win game two at home, this series is going to be over fast because I just don't see Carolina going back to Vegas and how Vegas has played at home this year, especially in the last series against Colorado. I don't see them winning because it's a tough place to play. And more importantly, it's a tough place to win. And you can't go down 0-2 going back to Vegas because you're just in trouble. I'm just telling you right now, you are in trouble. So predictions for this series, Joe, who do you like, Carolina or Vegas to take the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be Vegas in 5 before the last night's game, and I think now I think it's going to be Vegas in 4. I think they really just have this unique, special ability to continue to carry momentum, and again, utilizing the middle of the ice. I think there's players that aren't even playing up to their best ability right now, and I still think that they have such another level that they haven't even cracked, and I don't think we realize it. And the regular season's a whole lot different than the playoffs. I think postseason, Carolina's been fantastic, but it's a little bit similar to how we've talked about with the Knicks and the Spurs, right? It's just different levels sometimes. I think Carolina's kind of more on that Knicks tier where, look, they got a complete team. They're really good, but they're kind of like Golden Knights are kind of like San Antonio right now, where it's like, man, they got that it factor, and it's like I can't really explain it, but this is the team that I think is going to break over that hump just a little bit.
Well, there you have it. Joe is taking Vegas in 4. I'm going to be a little bit more lenient because I do believe Carolina can take game 2 tomorrow night. I'm going to take Vegas in 5. I'm not going to be shocked, but it's going to take everything to go right if you're Carolina to win because game 1 showed me everything. Even at the best that you play against Vegas, never count out Vegas. They're never down. They're never out. So you'll be able to catch game 2 action tomorrow night on ABC between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas with a 1-0 series lead. You'll be able to catch that. Our predictions are in the house. And, Joe, we're getting ready to sign off on tonight's episode. And let me tell you something. You have been amazing to have on tonight's episode and long overdue. But, again, as I always say, God's timing is better than anybody's timing. And I'm just happy that we were able to align the schedules, connect the I's and cross the T's and dot our I's. And you know the saying. I can't think of it right now. But I'm just happy that you were able to get here on the Rewind for episode 67 because it truly means a lot to me. Like I said, we met a year ago for the first time. We saw each other again in Brooklyn last year during a WNBA game, and it's alignment, right? It's alignment. And I just want to applaud you for, first off, congratulating you on graduating from Siena University, obtaining your undergrad, doing great things from sideline reporting to broadcasting, doing play-by-play because you're talented, you're skillful. I got the opportunity to listen to you, obviously, last year and again this year, and you have all the tools and the skills to be able to get to the next level. And I know we're both have the same dream and the same goal of being broadcasters and working in that profession and having that schedule. And I'm here to push you, and I know you're vice versa in my corner to push me. So whatever we can do, whatever I can do in terms of this platform to help elevate you and continue to push you as you're on your way to achieve your dreams, you know I'm here. But I just want to say, brother, thank you. I love you and appreciate you taking the time to come on episode 67. So for the people out there watching tonight's episode, as well as the people that will be watching tonight's episode, where can they find you? Where can they support you on social media platforms? And what's one message you would like to leave to the world for the year of 2026? My
guy, Monty, I love you too, brother. I appreciate seriously everything you do, man. You you got a lot going your way as well. This podcast is special. I hope everybody watches this consistently because this is where it's at. And likewise, like you said, you need things from me. I'm here, and we're both trying to rise. And the industry, it's competitive, it's hard, but it's like you never quit and you keep working. And when you're around good people and you push each other, great things happen. But no, you can find me on Instagram. I think it's Joe Lemery 19. And I use Twitter. It's X now, it's called, I guess. I use that a little bit. It's Joe Lemery 2. And yeah, those are really my main two. And then what did you say? Advice?
What message would you like to lead to the world for the year 2026?
Message, man. You know what? Be blessed. Be happy. Be grateful. Life's too short. You can only control what you can control, and just you got to continue to work hard and have a smile on your face while doing it. It's good to be good to have a little bit of naiveness in you sometimes, and just appreciate the world around you. Be happy. Work your tail off, and just celebrate the small wins, and just make sure you're doing what you love, because at the end of the day, you got to go for your dreams and make the most of it happen. I think that's why you and I are in the sports field, and that's why we're doing what we do, is because we find great joy and passion in it. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. So just strive high, aim for your dreams, and always be grateful for where you're at, and count your blessings. That's it.
Count your blessings indeed, Joe, and chase your passion, follow your dreams. Good things will follow. As always, one of the mentors told me, but I think it's a message that everyone, I think, takes and pays it forward in some form of fashion. If you follow your dreams, the money will follow. Be in it for all the good reasons, not the wrong reasons. And again, it's one of the reasons why we do the rewind, because again, it's something that I started in 2020 during my undergrad, and I made it a mission to finish it and do it right, starting this thing up last year, or a year, almost 2 years now. So it's a blessing. And one thing I always say, and I'll continue to say, when you have gratitude, your blessings triple when you have it. And we have to find ways and find positivity in everything we do, because not everything's going to be glitter and gold, not everything's going to be sunshine, but have gratitude. Have gratitude for clothes on your back. Have gratitude for the ability to wake up in the morning. Have gratitude to do things you want to do. Have gratitude for be able to walk, to be able to shower, to be able to work out, to be able to have joy, have passion for something. Gratitude for everything. Have gratitude, and your blessings will triple, because when you don't have gratitude and you're mad at the world and you're mad at things didn't go your way and you're mad, oh, life sucks, it does not matter. You have to put your best foot forward. And I'm grateful that Joe has took his time to come on and share the love and share the wisdom with me and the rest of the Rewind family. So if you haven't, subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Rewind_GSC3, as well as follow us on all of our social media platforms at the Rewind_GSC3. Again, all the love goes to you guys, the people, for continuing to show us love on all of our platforms, liking, subscribing, reposting, commenting, all those things, all those metrics, right? I appreciate it. We appreciate it here on GSC3. And again, shout out to my dog, Chris, and 1990 Studios for the work that he does week in and week out. Shout out to our guy, Pat, who had very safe travel mercies as he traveled from Arizona to North Carolina. So shout out to our guy and to the whole family, to the crew. I love you. Thank you. Without you guys, this is not possible. You guys keep this thing going week in and week out. And it's not easy, but I thank you guys for all your consistency and your dedication to excellence and believing in my dream and my passion and what I'm trying to do, because I think we're going to be here for a long time. But I don't know. It's God's plan. We'll see what happens. So from Joe Lemery to Monty Moss to Chris, 99 Studios, the crew, signing off episode 67. We'll see you guys same place. It'll be a different time next week. Usual time, 9 p.m. Eastern time, right here on our YouTube Live, and you'll be able to check this episode out on audio podcast. Thank you also to our Apple subscribers, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're over 1,000 downloads, so thank you for the love and support you guys do. I'm sure you listen to us in the gym, or you probably listen to us in the car, you probably listen at the grocery store. I don't know, but I'm grateful for you. So we'll see you guys next week, and as I always say before each and every episode, I just don't know. Go Spurs, go. Game 2. See you Friday.